Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Orum, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. We are rocking and rolling, guys. Welcome all of you. Welcome those of you who are brand new to the Deep Dive Podcast, and also welcome all of our loyal followers. We are so excited about just sharing with you another message of empowerment tonight. And I tell you what, it's been a great, great ride. I say that every week, but it seems like it's getting better and better each and every week. So that's something we can all be proud of. For those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, welcome to the Deep Dive Podcast. We really like to empower people. We give messages of empowerment, things that you can actually, utilize in your daily lives, in your daily activities. So, again, welcome all of you. We have people who are originating from all over the world listening to the podcast. And so we don't take that for granted. And for my true, loyal, long time, 3 seasons of followers, guys, I'm so thankful for you. There would not be a deep dive podcast were it not for you. All of your suggestions, your recommendations, your kudos, your attaboys, everything that means a lot to me. So thank you so very much for what you've been doing and you continue to do in terms of supporting the Deep Dive podcast. I'm going to get right into our topic for tonight. And this is one of those topics that really, if you can grasp the value of it, it can truly enhance the quality of your life simply because it's titled your limiting beliefs. But we want to be able to help you identify what those limiting beliefs are so that you can rectify those things and create a better environment for yourself. I want to something comes to mind before I get started. A lot of times when we do these empowerment podcasts, these podcasts are not just to give information. It's for you to take that information, as they say, chew up the meat and spit out the bone. We say that in the country, but basically that means extract something from the podcast that you could use. I would encourage you to take notes. I would encourage you to go back and listen to previous episodes, take notes, and implement these things into your life. There's some things that's going on right now with humanity, and I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming podcast. But people have really given up hope on in so many aspects of their lives. In order for you to become a better version of yourself, what you'll need to do is start to grow. And these podcasts are designed to help you grow. So don't just listen or say, "Oh, that was a good podcast," because it's not for me. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about every individual listener who is taking advantage of or taking their time out to listen to the podcast. Find something that you can extract from this podcast to make your life better. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that out there because, again, we're not just doing this just to do it. We want you to be able to really get some value from the podcast and be able to use that value in terms of how you approach your lives, your goals, so forth and so on. So, we're talking about, again, your limiting beliefs. I've said this on numerous occasions, and those of you who have followed this podcast, I talk about this a lot. But the mindset, because I truly believe the mindset is the one thing that will help you create your future. If you have a positive mindset, if you have certain things, certain aspects of the mind that will help you move forward. Well, one of the negative aspects of a mindset is having limiting beliefs. So what are limiting beliefs? These are thoughts, or these are ideologies or beliefs that will kind of hold you back because of what it is that you think or you have perceived as a thought. We want to make sure we eliminate limiting beliefs so that you can just thrive and move forward in the best way possible. So, just giving you a couple of quick examples of what limiting beliefs may be, and then we'll talk about it as we dive a little bit more into it. But one of the things that I hear all the time, people talk about, you know what, I'm just not good enough to do this, or I'm not good enough to do that. That's probably the number one limiting belief where people just truly believe they're not qualified to do certain things. Now, in certain situations, you may not be qualified to do a certain thing, but here's the thing that doesn't prohibit you from building your capacity or building your skill set or building your mindset or building your sweat equity to get to a point where you are good enough. See, you don't want to just stop at saying, well, I'm not good enough. Okay. Well, what are you going to do about it? Believing that you're inherently or inadequate, that's just not enough. Is what are you going to do about that? Believing that you're not worthy of success, well, what are you going to do about that? That's just not good enough. So that's one of the things that you want to take advantage of when you're talking about building your mindset and getting rid of limiting beliefs, understanding that, yeah, you are good enough. And if it's a skill type thing, then don't worry about the skill type thing. Build your capacity, get into, education, educating yourself on that particular task. Or, as we would call it, get your weight up when it comes to that particular thing that you're looking to do. So don't worry about the fact that you're not good enough. And I also hear people a lot of times, they talk about, well, I'm too old to do this, or I'm too young to do this. Once again, age is a mindset. It is absolutely a mindset. There are some physical limitations as you get older, but at the end of the day, it's still a mindset. People can and have accomplished great things on a very, very high scale just because they have a certain type of mindset that is not limiting them to whatever success may be from their standpoint. Okay, so they may say, "Yeah, I'm too old. I'm too old to learn a new skill." No, you're not. You're never too old to learn a new skill. You're never too young to learn a new skill. You may have some legal restrictions, but in terms of your mental capacity, age is just a number. It is how you think about and perceive certain things. Quite frankly, a lot of people, as they get older, they cement limiting beliefs, and that becomes their reality. They're just unwilling to change. They're unwilling to try new things. They're unwilling to even uh acknowledge that there may be another way. There may be another thought. This happens a lot in terms of, racist society and people who are in a certain mindset for so many years, even generations. That stuff is passed down through generations, and it gets so anchored into their mindset that they become so limiting in how they think. There are no exceptions. It is either this way or it's no way. Well, you don't want to get to that point. So you want to kind of conquer those limiting beliefs up front. And age is just one of those things that, you can, it really doesn't matter if you have the wherewithal to just really push forward and make some things happen in spite of. I hear a lot of people talk about, they don't deserve certain levels of success. They don't feel worthy of certain levels of the set of success. In fact, they'll undermine their success. This is called self-sabotage. Let me tell you something. I've met so many people that are so skilled. Some of you are listening to this podcast. You're so skilled, but every time you get at the threshold of greatness, you self-sabotage because you don't want to take that next step. You say you do, but you don't want to take that next step into greatness because you understand that there's a responsibility in taking that next step to greatness. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. So in other words, success comes with a lot of things as well. And then there are a lot of people who just don't want to deal with those things that come with success, responsibility, accountability, so forth and so on. Well, you'll get to a point where you self-sabotage. That's a limiting belief that is very, very scary, because at what point will you make a decision that your life is worthy of that particular success, or any success for that matter? You may go through the entirety of your life being stagnated simply because you don't want to take that next step and take the responsibility of what comes with success. You don't want to make a commitment. I've said this on the last few podcasts because this is something that I've started to focus on when I'm noticing lack in humanity, and I'm talking to people about committing to your commitment. Commit to your commitment. A lot of times people commit to something, but then when it's time to put action behind that commitment, in other words, commit to that commitment, then they start to run scared or they come up with excuses or all these other things. These are limiting beliefs. People have kind of gotten away from integrity as it relates to commitments, as it relates to doing the things that you said you were going to do. All of these are limiting beliefs. I've mentioned my company, One Voice Worldwide, on numerous occasions. I talk about it a lot, but one of the things that I'm going to be teaching and training even more with my company is how to get beyond these limiting beliefs. There are people who feel like they don't want to commit, going all in to being successful for whatever reason. I don't want to commit the time. I don't want to commit the resources. I don't want to look like a failure. I don't want to be exposed because I'm not in top 10 production. All of these other kind of limiting beliefs that you have to kind of get beyond and go for it. Look, when I got involved in business, myself, my business partners, friends, relatives alike, everybody that we were participating in business, man, we went for it. We didn't care what anybody said. We didn't ask for permission. We just went for it because we didn't limit ourselves in terms of how we thought. Like, you know what? We're gonna make this thing happen with or without you, with or without them. We don't care what the companies say. We're gonna be successful. I don't know what has happened over the past, decade or so that people have decided that integrity doesn't matter. People will show up late and think that's okay. I don't live in that world. I don't live in that space at all. People are totally not committing to what they say they're going to do. That's a lack of integrity, but that's also a limiting belief for a variety of reasons that we're already talking about. People will get into a situation, they'll tell you, I'm going to give you a call at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time come. They don't call in, they don't call later, they don't call the next day. You know what I mean? You got to keep calling them. Well, the devil is a liar. I'm not subscribing to your limiting beliefs. I'm going to set a standard of expectations because I don't have limiting beliefs. And then what you do, you start to look for people who have like minds and like spirits where they can come to where you are in terms of your levels of expectations. But you don't want to be one of those people who are limited by these things. So commit to your commitments. Do what you say you're going to do. Go above and beyond. And if you're not doing it for yourself, do it for somebody else. Do it for someone else. I met I've told this story before, but I met a lady or older lady in New York several years ago doing business. And she saw the business that we were talking about. She saw my company and she was like, hey, look, this is a great company. I see what you're doing. There's a lot of value in it, but I'm already making money. What is it going to do for me? And I'm already making money. The kind of money you're talking about, I'm already making this money. For me, it was one of those triggers that caused me to react in a way that I probably should not have reacted. Not because of my company. It's not because of that at all. It's because of what this lady had told me earlier, that she's a woman of faith. She's a Christian lady, and she followed the principles and teachings of the Bible, and so she went on and on and on about those things. But then later on in the same evening, she's talking about, well, I'm already making money. How is this going to help me? How dare you? It's not about you. You just told me that you're a follower of God. You're a Christian lady. Your her whole focus is following the principles of the Bible, following the principles of God. And then in the same evening, you're going to tell me, well, this doesn't help me. It's not about you. How are you going to position yourself to help other people? See, that's a limiting belief when she felt like it was all about her. It's not about you. In fact, it's not about me. I can tell you for a fact that there are a ton of other things I would prefer doing in business in a lot of instances than what I do. But why is it that I'm so passionate about what I do? Because I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about the empowerment of people. That's why. And so it takes me out of the equation. I was good before I even started my companies, right? I was good, but that wasn't enough. I had to do some things that would empower other people. That's where my purpose come into play. Well, when you start thinking it's about you, you have a limiting belief. You think it's about you. You think about, well, if I have to make this commitment to my commitment, then I'm going to have to show up on time. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to invest. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to expose myself in what either I'm doing or what I'm not doing. How dare you? It's not about you. If you are who you say you are, you know. So that's a limiting belief. And that's one of the things that we want to make sure people understand. So it doesn't, you don't want to get into a situation where you start to self-sabotage because you don't want to take that step or that responsibility. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Also, a lot of people just think they're just not smart enough or talented enough to do certain things. Excuse me. To do certain things, they may think that they're not smart enough or not talented enough. Look, talent is a learned behavior. True that you can be born with certain type skills, but at the end of the day, if you don't hone those skills, if you don't hone that craft, then in other words, you have the ability, whether you feel you lack talent or not, to build yourself to a point where you have the skill set to do whatever it is that you need to do. I've used this example time and time again, but I'm not great in terms of baking baked goods or cakes or pies or anything like that. But what I am good is following directions. What I am good is strategically taking steps one, two, and three. So if you give me a recipe and you give me all of the ingredients and the right temperatures and everything that measurements and everything that's needed, my cake should be just as good as your cake. Why? Because I'm following instructions. Well, that's a learned behavior. You don't have to be talented enough to follow instructions, right? So you can build yourself to a point where you're thinking, okay, I'm not smart enough. Forget about the smart part because there are things that will help you become smart even in the midst of your goals. But look at the talent side of the equation. And all you have to do is have the willingness, that desire to follow instructions. Then you become talented, right? You become smart because you've done some things. People told me I have a great red velvet cake. Well, thank you, but all I did is follow the instructions. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to follow the instructions. You're building something. You can become the greatest carpenter there is. All you have to do is follow the instructions. So, don't let the fact that you may feel you're not smart enough or not talented enough to hold you back. Don't think that you lack intelligence or natural abilities or capabilities or those type things to be successful. No, that's not the case. You just have to develop that mindset to know that yeah, you are worthy. Yeah, you can make this happen. Yeah, you can either have the talent or develop the talent if you have the mindset, the proper mindset to do it. And don't limit your beliefs in what can be done. Failure in a lot of cases is unacceptable. Failure is unacceptable. And a lot of people have a belief that failure is a reflection of their personal, what is it, inadequacies or their personal lack and that's why they fail. No, the only thing that I can think of that would be a failure in terms of your inadequacies is just an ill mindset, a sick mindset. Because I do believe that if you can properly adjust your thoughts to a point where everything, at least make an attempt, to think positively then anything becomes a possibility. The only time there is no possible way for something to work is if you have a limiting belief. You believe that there is no way. Now, is this saying that everything you say and do is going to work? Absolutely not, because there are things that you cannot control. But the thing that you can control is your limiting beliefs, right? You can control that. And that's going to be your first step in terms of being successful in whatever it is that you may be being want to be, and that is to control that limiting belief. Understand that yeah, failure is nothing but an opportunity. And I know it sounds cliche-ish, but that's just one more no that's out of the way, closer to your yes, closer to your success. So don't worry about the failure. The only time the failure can affect you is when you allow it to affect you. Keep moving. Don't worry about it. Just keep going. A lot of people look at another limiting belief is people look at money as something that's being evil. They look at money as being evil. Well, they may come into a situation where they think, greed or believing that people are corrupt and all these other things. Well, you know what? I need to work on that limited belief, because I do have a belief that people are greedy and people are corrupt. You know, I love America. It's the greatest country in the world, but it's also the greediest and most corrupt country in the world. And those two correlate. I know I'm gonna get calls and emails and all this other kind of stuff. I don't care. Um, the greed is one of the things that cause so many people to do things that lack integrity, is because of greed, right? You look at what's going on right now with the whole debt ceiling thing, and all of this stuff is about greed and power. Why wouldn't you want to have people to have food on their table? Why wouldn't you want people to be educated? Why wouldn't you want certain things? Well, it's because we live in a greedy society. And when you live in a greedy society, then it will cause you to create an environment where people start to develop limiting beliefs, where they start to think money is bad. No, it's not the money, it's the greedy mindsets behind the money. People may think that guns are bad. Guns kill people. Well, no, it's the crazy people. And I don't mean mentally, don't get me wrong. I don't mean mentally crazy. I mean people who just shoot people for no reason. It wasn't a gun, it was the person, right? Don't allow those type things to permeate your spirit and allow you to have limiting beliefs, because I'm going to get as much money as I possibly can. And the reason I'm going to do that is not because of greed, is because it gives me the bigger platform to continue to empower people around the globe. That's what it's all about for me. If you look at me, just Sam the guy, I don't need all this stuff. I don't need, it's not about me. It's about how can I empower the people? And the more I have, the more I can help. But so you don't want to allow things like, money and greedy people, corrupt people to limit your belief. You still have to thrive in spite of. Don't you develop a limiting belief because of their lack or their greed or their corrupt behavior or whatever it may be. Hope that makes sense to you guys. So it's again, it's not about you, it's about them. And because we live in a greedy society and all these other kind of things, I see people struggling, with healthcare, the cost of healthcare, people trying to get quality health care, but they may lack finances. The insurance companies are always playing these games because, again, they're greedy. The insurance company plays these games. The politician plays these games. The lobbyist plays these games. All politicians are liars. At some degree. If there's a politician that's on here, I invite you on the Deep Dive podcast, and we can discuss why you want a liar. I should have said that, but y'all know what I'm talking about. I ain't talking about my good friend politicians. I'm talking about y'all know what I'm talking about. So, um, but don't allow that stuff to mess you up, because it's going to stagnate your growth. Okay. And then there are a lot of people who have limiting beliefs to the degree that they feel like they have to become a people pleaser. They're always trying to please other people. I want the best for people, but you can't be in the business always of trying to please other people. Just be yourself, because at the end of the day, they're, they're really not concerned or won't be concerned with how you are, whether it's, living authentically or you're trying to please them. We're in a 5149 society. And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter what the topic, the situation, or the person. You're going to have almost half the people agree and half the people disagree. Almost half the people like it, almost half the people don't like it. We're in that 5149 society. It is what it is. So knowing that, then you don't have to please everyone, because no matter what you do, nearly half the people are not going to agree or like it. Doesn't matter. So from my standpoint, you just do you. Be what you would like to be. Live your life authentically and don't worry about pleasing everybody because you're never going to please everybody. It is what it is. And, a lot of people limit their beliefs by constantly seeking approval from other people. Look what I have. Look what I've done. A lot of times we get these things. We buy this big, nice, fancy car that we can't afford, and then we pull up into an apartment that we can't afford either. Why? Why are we doing that? It's not because of you. You're trying to please somebody else. They're not gonna help you pay your bill when the repo man comes. So don't worry about trying to please them. Do what you have to do to, create your future in a positive manner and doing it without limiting your own thoughts and belief. If you have to change something, change something. A lot of times, and this is another limiting belief too, a lot of times people think change is bad. No, change is not necessarily bad. Change means that what you've been doing is not working. And so you want to put yourself in a position for something to work. Even if you're in the same um let's say business. If even if you're in the same business, you don't necessarily have to change businesses or jobs or whatever, but there may be an opportunity for you to change how you approach your business or your job or your marriage or your friendship. You don't have to necessarily get divorced, but maybe change the approach and what your marriage may be. Okay. So that's one of the things that's important in terms of your limiting belief. You got to, resisting change a lot of times and just believing that, is always going to result in something negative if you change. That's just not true. That's just not true. And that's a limiting belief. And as I close out, just a couple more things, and I could go on and on about limiting beliefs because there are so many, but I want to kind of close out with just a couple more thoughts and we'll get out of here. A lot of people feel like that they just have to be perfect. They have to have all their ducks in a row before they move, or they have to have everything in order. Let me tell you guys, I've been on earth for a long time and I've never seen everything just line up absolutely perfectly. It's just not realistic. So if we know that, we don't have to worry about being perfect. We just have to do something. Learn while you earn. Build or fuel a moving train. Do something while you're doing something. It don't have to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. There is no such thing as perfection because a lot of times, something perfect may be an opinion. Somebody may look at, I think Janet Jackson is the most perfect creature that God ever created. But I'm sure there's some people that don't think she's the most perfect creature that God ever created. So perfection is also in the eye of the beholder, right? So don't worry about being perfect. You're not going to be perfect. Anything they think, a lot of times you think anything less than perfection is unacceptable. Well, unacceptable to whom? Is it whom or who? Unacceptable to whom? I don't know. One of them, but whichever one it is. You don't worry about if it's being perfected or perfect for that particular person or that particular thought. You don't worry about that. What you want to do is be able to again put yourself in a situation where you're going to continue to move forward in spite of what you feel are your lacks. Then you start to fix the lack while you're fixing the lack, if you will. You start to fix the lack while you're building and moving forward. Hence the term fuel a moving train. Keep it rolling, guys. Keep it rolling. And, understanding that a lot of times, and I'll just leave it here after this, but a lot of times people think that, well, you got to be, that person was lucky or they were in the right place at the right time or, all of these other things. No, no, no. I talk a lot about creating your future because I believe in the laws of attraction. I do believe that you can create certain environments, good or bad, in your life. I'm not so much a big believer in affirmations like a lot of people are because affirmations are inherently flawed as well. Like, I don't care how much you affirm that the sky is purple, or, the sky is blue, or not blue, but the sky is whatever it is. If it's not, it's not. And you can affirm that all you want, right? So there are some inherent flaws in affirmations. But There's no such thing as, from my perspective now, luck. There is a such thing as the law of attractions, which means you can create things and bring things into your spirit, into your life, into your whatever it is. You become what you seek, and what you seek will come to you. I'm telling you, I've seen it time and time and time again. You can create that. So luck is not a part of it. If luck was a learned behavior, everybody would be a winner. If luck was a learned behavior, everybody would be a winner. Luck is not good enough. And people, a lot of people think that, well, their success is solely based on luck or solely determined by luck. They were in the right place at the right time. Nah, not necessarily. They may have created that situation. There is a book. It was also turned into a movie. This is many years ago. It's called The Secret. And I remember when I first was exposed to it, I saw it on the old Oprah Winfrey show. And, it's basically, it talks about the laws of attraction. That is a thing. I've seen it, I've used it, I've experienced it. I know that the law of attraction is a thing. So don't worry about being lucky. Worry about, building your skill set, building your capacity, building your mindset, doing those things that's going to make you and help you remain great. All right. So, hey, look, guys, like I said, I could talk all night about limiting beliefs and why you should not have them, how to identify them, and how to rectify them. But I'm going to end the podcast here. But I do want everybody to kind of take note of what we talked about tonight. Make sure that if you have been taking notes, if you need to go back and listen to this podcast again, make sure you're putting yourself in a position where you understand that limiting beliefs are not good things, and you want to get those things out of your life. Find your limiting beliefs and find how you can eradicate those things from your life. All right. And watch how everything starts to come into play in a positive manner for you, and for everybody that you touch based on your eradicating limiting beliefs from your life. So thank you guys again for joining me on this episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Again, I truly appreciate all of your support. I would ask you again, if you'll go to the website, the Deep Dive Podcast.live, listen to some of the previous episodes. Please like and subscribe, download the podcast, share it with some people. If you know some people who have limiting beliefs, then share this episode with them so that they may be in a better position to succeed as well, or any of the other topics. We're on all podcast platforms. I think some 22, 23 different podcast platforms, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, Google. We're on everything. So make sure you just take a look, but also support, like the podcast, guys. Subscribe, download, share. Let other people know. That's your mission of empowerment. That is to share my mission of empowerment. All right. So with that, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. God bless each and every one of you, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world. Have a great evening.